So for the last 3 years, I've been sitting in this. This is the Razer gaming chair, their Iskur version 1, and I rated it very highly 3 years ago when I compared it against other gaming chairs on the market, and this actually came out on top. It was the most expensive, but it also was, in my opinion at least, the best chair at the time that I had sat in. Then this happened. So we have a chair from a company I'd never ever heard of in my life called Sihoo, but when they reached out and showed me this chair, you know, I gotta say, I was pretty intrigued to find out how this compares to, you know, like a conventional gaming chair. A rather nice one, but this is also, you know, not a cheap chair. They have like a couple options of these available. This happens to be like the high-end anti-gravity or zero-gravity chair that they happen to send me. It's a great looking chair. A very different looking chair as well. I mean, the back of this Razer chair just looks so plain and simple. And then you have this. Like, what on earth is going on here? There's literally springs all over the place. We have like all sorts of additional adjustment that, you know, my Razer chair just doesn't. I haven't tried Razer's newest version 2 of this chair, which came out maybe a year or two ago. So I'm comparing Razer's original Iskur chair against something that's literally just come out. So one of the biggest differences between these two chairs here are the material choices, because this is, as you can see, like a see-through breathable mesh, whereas the Razer one is like, I think like a fake leather or something. Very nice. Like, I really do like it. And it's a firm chair to actually sit in. Like, even after 3 years or so, it hasn't lost like any of the firmness. It's still like pretty much exactly the same as when I first got it like 3 years ago. And this I've been sitting in for about a month. So the material choices here are pretty much polar opposites. But if you're in a country that is perhaps a little bit warmer than the UK, which, you know, 99% of the time it's raining outside, if you're in a warmer climate, having this kind of chair with like a breathable mesh, not saying you have to get this one, but just considering a chair of this style as opposed to like, you know, your conventional gaming chair, I think you'd probably really appreciate, because you wouldn't overheat as often as you would in, you know, something like this. And it's just a genuinely comfortable chair to sit in. I don't know if that's because of like the material mesh that they've used here, which I think it's like an Italian velvet. You can check out their website link with all the details and like the specs of this chair. So one of the biggest changes that I had to get used to when I swapped over from my Razer chair to this new crazy anti-gravity one is the lack of the tilt lock function that this Razer chair has, that I had been very used to utilizing, because throughout my entire ownership of this chair, I used the tilt lock function to pretty much lock the chair in place, because this is how I felt, you know, most comfortable sitting in the chair. So when I swapped over to this chair, I tried to do the same. And unfortunately, I could not find a way to actually lock the tilt of the chair in place. Maybe there is a function for that, but I have a feeling there isn't, because the way this chair does like the whole tilt mechanism is very different. There are 3 levels on the side here. I've currently set it to level 1, and you'll notice there's very little movement whatsoever. If I set it to level 2, which is where I've been using it throughout pretty much my whole ownership of the chair, you can lean back a little bit and the whole chair rocks back. And this, in my opinion, is very, very nice. It's like the perfect sweet spot. And I thought I'd actually miss the tilt lock function a lot more, because when I first swapped over to this, I was like, this is maybe a deal breaker, not having the ability to lock the tilt in place. And this is the 3rd level, where you can pretty much, you know, sleep on the chair. It's very comfortable for someone like myself. I'm about 5'10", maybe 5'11" on a good day. I weigh about 70 kilo. And this chair, like, it doesn't have an integrated headrest like the Razer chair kind of does. This doesn't have any of that. But for someone that's my height, this is really comfortable. Like, I can very nicely rest my head on the back of this chair and not really have any need for a head cushion of any sort. I'm very happy the way this is sitting. Now, not only does this chair have a very different approach to the whole tilt lock function, it also has this extra dial here that I've currently set to the like least sensitive option, I suppose. So there's basically no force pushing me back up. When you set the sensitivity to like the lowest one, it's incredibly easy to lean back and the chair sort of just comes to an abrupt stop there towards the end. And it's a little bit more challenging to get back upright. And I do mean a little bit, like you just put your body forward and it does just chuck you back forward. But if you crank this setting up, you can twist this a good amount and it really does make an enormous difference. So let's see. Okay, this is immediately like a completely different force. So now when I lean back, notice how like there was a bounce there and I did the exact same thing. It also throws you forward a lot more aggressively now, but if you want to just like fall back into your chair, it'll kind of catch you, which is a rather crazy sensation. And if you crank this up even more, have I done that? Okay, yep, this is definitely a lot stronger. If you're taller and you weigh a bit more, you could crank that setting up and really fine-tune the chair to yourself. So because I don't weigh a lot and I'm not the tallest of human beings, I don't need it to be on this crazy setting. I much prefer it to be a little bit less aggressive, allowing myself to pretty much just be able to lean back on the level 2 setting without the chair constantly trying to spring me back forward, because that's kind of how I was used to sitting in my Razer chair. Hence why I haven't missed the tilt lock, because when you turn it down to the, non-aggressive mode, you can just sit back in the chair and it not continuously try and chuck you forward like some other chairs might. Another major difference going from my Razer chair to this one are the armrests. Now these are incredibly adjustable. I mean, like, there is so much adjustability, it is out of this world. They will pretty much mold to any situation, any desk setup. They take a very different approach to armrests, at least the ones that I've been used to on these gaming chairs that I've been using for so many years. So on the Razer one, there's a button. Press this one, it goes forward and back. You press this one, it goes side to side. You press that one, it goes up and down. And you notice once you let go of the button, it's locked in place. Whereas on this chair, it's not like that. Instead, they're constantly moving around. They're constantly like adjusting themselves. And in my opinion, this was a bit weird to begin with, but after sitting in the chair for a little bit, just like the tilt lock function, I got used to it. And as weird as this may look, this is how I sit at my desk. I sit with the armrests like this, and you can even set them up in a way where like they go back a little bit and you can rest your elbow just here, and like you can really fine tune it to be in this perfect position, which on the Razer chair, I mean, yes, these are pretty good armrests, and I do like the ability that you can lock them in place, like after you're done adjusting them. But even though this is a very different approach to armrests on this chair, in my opinion, I think it actually works better, probably mainly because you gain so much extra adjustment. One of the cool selling points of this Razer chair when it first came out was the adjustable lumbar support. A very different approach to lumbar support, at least at the time of making my video on this chair 3 years ago. Maybe more chairs on the market now have features similar to this one, like the one we're reviewing today has this function as well, in a slightly different approach. This lumbar support, when you pull this latch here, protrudes forward to, a pretty ridiculous extent. So there's basically just like a gas spring there that, goes forward and backwards, and you can adjust how much the lumbar support extrudes forward and really fine tune it to, a pretty good extent. And this new chair we're taking a look at today has this function as well. However, the dial is on the side here instead, and when you twist this one, boom, that just pops forward. And just like the Razer chair, once you're sitting in this one, you can adjust the dial and pretty much fine tune it to where it's most comfortable for yourself. And again, one of the biggest changes with this chair in comparison to the Razer one are the lumbar supports are like on separate things, which makes it, I would say, more comfortable, oddly enough. Continuing on with the adjustability of this chair, this is where the Razer one doesn't have as much, I suppose. So when you pull this latch upwards, you can actually push the whole bottom of the seat forward or backwards, depending on how long your legs are, I suppose, to really fine tune that part of the chair to your body. The other one is, of course, the chair goes up, chair goes down. Very simple feature, the Razer one has it as well. So in conclusion, this is going to be the chair that's going to be staying in the setup going forward. It has been such a unique experience trying it out over the last month that I honestly, sorry Razer, have not missed the Razer chair whatsoever. And this has just been such an awesome upgrade. And it's going to be staying in the setup going forward. So if I have a discount code for you guys, I'll leave it linked down below in the video description. So if you want to pick up a chair like this for your own setup, they do have a couple versions available. One in white and one in grey / silver, I suppose, that I have here. And there's even some less expensive models on their website as well if you want to go check those out. But yeah, awesome chair, definitely gets my approval. But if you want to find out more about my gaming setup desk and everything else I have here, check out the video on screen right now where I build this brand new sit stand table here from a company called Vernal. This has been another massive change to the gaming setup, and now we have a pretty cool new chair as well.